Good morning, it's Stephanie here from the Pacific Grove Museum of Natural History, volunteer. We are doing our second installment of A Glimpse in the Grove. So the intention, let me stop for just a second. We have a little squirrel friend who just ran by, right? We get all kinds of wildlife that comes to be a part of this tour through the sanctuary. So originally the plan was to come every month and to talk about and show you where the monarchs are and to talk about what they're doing. So in October when we came and we checked, we still had no monarchs. So I thought, well, let's wait a little bit longer. Let's wait until the beginning of November for sure. By then we would have some monarchs. So here we are. It's November 1st, which is a special day in some parts of the world. In Mexico, they celebrate, let me turn the page, not so easy to do with a mask on. In November 1st, they celebrate Dia de los Muertos, which is a special day. Not only is this a time when the monarchs start arriving in Mexico, but it's also a celebration of people and loved ones, including animals that have passed. And they believe that the spirit of those people come in the form of the monarchs. So that's why it's such a big celebration. So here we are, November 1st, and I came inside the sanctuary, and it's about 63 degrees outside. And let's look at our temperature. So we always want to check in our thermometer, and it's about 66 or so degrees inside the sanctuary, and I don't see any monarchs that are flying around. I brought my binoculars, and I'm also would be looking for groups of monarchs that might be in the trees, but there are no monarchs here yet. I also want to show you, so here is a map of the United States, right? North America, and all along here we have the possibility of the monarchs coming to spend the winter. A couple of weeks ago, I went south of here, about 2.5 hours, to Pismo Beach to see if they had any monarchs, and they still have no monarchs there either. So we're wondering, where are the monarchs and what are they doing? We are ready for the monarchs when they do decide to come. You'll notice that all those trees and plants that were in pots before, the city and lots of volunteers have planted them in the ground. So we are just awaiting the arrival of the monarchs. We've got our lower canopy here filled in to help the monarchs when they are here. You'll notice we have the cypress trees that are low. Those are going to be great if we get any that fall from the upper branches. And we have some other, I'm not even sure what they all are. We've got some bottlebrush here for them to gather nectar if they need that. So it looks like we're all ready. We are all set as soon as they arrive. So I just wanted to show you a few of the tree species and what it looks like when the monarchs are actually on them. So we talked about the word cluster before. So when you have a group of monarchs that are together in a group, we call that a cluster. So when I come into the sanctuary or any of the other docents that volunteer here, we're looking up in the trees and we're looking for clusters. And remember, when their wings are folded, they're camouflaged, so it's not so easy to see. So especially in the beginning of the season, so hopefully in the next few weeks, maybe even next week, we don't know, we're going to start having the monarchs come, and they usually begin on the eucalyptus. So it's a little bit breezy today, but it's not so breezy like what we get in storms. So we're going to have Amanda, who's helping us behind, right? She's behind the scenes, behind the camera. She's going to show you the eucalyptus. You see the long leaves. And then I'm going to show you a photograph from last year of what it looked like when they were on the eucalyptus. She can zoom in. So you see, right? They all find a place to grasp on. But when it gets too strong, and maybe we'll see that later in December, the monarchs move to different trees. So now we're going to go look at some of the trees that they might decide to move to. the other tree, which they usually won't prefer to move to once we start getting stronger winds and windstorms and things like that, is they like to go up into the pine trees, which have the needles. And there, you see how there's so many places where they can all individually hold onto, right? And rather than these long, flat leaves, right, which makes it really hard to grasp a hold of, they have these needles that are nice and thin. So in 2015, this pine tree here, I took a photograph of all the monarchs, which we had large clusters. I'm going to show you a picture of the difference from the eucalyptus and what you might see on a pine tree. So that was here inside the Pacific Grove Monarch Sanctuary, which is what we refer to. And then I'm going to show you one more species. So over here, we've got our native cypress trees. This is low, so you wouldn't see a cluster this low. You're going to find them a little bit higher up. And this was actually when the last, maybe 3 years ago, they were in the neighbor's yard, and they're beautiful. So this is a huge cluster, and you see that some of them are, this is a little bit later in the season, so they were sunning, right? We talked about that they were bathing in the sun, like we enjoy the sun with their wings open. They're gathering up heat, so you see the nice bright orange. Whereas here, we've got where their wings are folded and they're all hanging there. Kind of see what's been happening in our monarch sanctuary. So every year we do annual monarch counts where we have docents who actually come in early in the morning when they're in clusters, and we gather numbers, and then we get an overall picture for that season, how many monarchs we had. So if we go back to 2015, and these black circles that are around there, I mean, these are official counts, and I'll explain that in a minute, because one of them actually doesn't have that. So in 2015, we had 11,472 monarchs. And then in 2016, we had 17,000, which was an amazing number. 2017, 7,000, so you see it's already starting to drop. 2018, it dipped as far as 815. Last year we had 642. So we are trying to figure out what is happening with our monarchs. Why is it that we have so few that are coming? And I put this number on here. This was in 2014. That picture that I showed of all the monarchs that were in the pine tree, this doesn't have an official count around it because the official count was about 18,000. But at one point in the sanctuary, there were 24,000 monarchs compared to 642 that we had last year. So what do you think? What's happening with our monarchs? Why are so few here? And why are they not here yet? One of the things I want you to think about is we still have warm temperatures, so that could be keeping them still out in different areas. We've also had fires in California and Oregon. They can fly through smoke, but we don't know if they're gathering nectar. Were some of their nectar plants destroyed? Were some of the trees that they roost in at night, were they burned down? We don't know. So we have to wait until the end of the season to find out what our numbers will be for 2020. All right. So that ends our second installment of A Glimpse in the Grove. And as soon as we have some monarchs, we're going to have you come back inside and we will see where the monarchs are and what they're actually doing. So continue to provide water and nectar plants if you are able to do that. That would be a great help. And keep your eyes open in the community and around where you live. You might happen to find one in your own yard. All right. Bye. Oh, so this is a great example. We had a surprise. One of the docents who was here working on planting sent a message to us and told us that there is a monarch here. So there is a male. And if you can notice that his wing on the right-hand side is quite tattered. So he has some holes in there. So, right, that could have come from his journey. Here, look. So his wings are folded and he's gathering nectar from this daisy tree. How beautiful! So the first time we had a single monarch, and this time we have a monarch as well. So here we are on Dia de los Muertos, November 1st, and we have a single monarch again.